All right, welcome everybody to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome to week 3 of this radio show. Today's topic, and what will be our third Sunday of every month's topic, is the filing cabinet of life. For those who have not listened, I am a professional organizer here in the Twin Cities, and with this week, I want to bring content with this week every month. I want to be bringing content that helps people sort through some of the less exciting but important elements of life. Like, we will talk about riveting topics like taxes, estate planning, health, insurance, finances, like all the fun stuff. Um, but honestly, it's all really important. And as a home organizer, when I go into people's homes, getting into their offices is usually it's fun. You can tell how well someone's life is running by how many places the papers are. And so I do think that I avoid this in my own life, some of these more productive topics. Uh, and so I'm using it maybe even a little selfishly to help bring on guests that will help me in my own life. And today, I thought we're in the third week of January. What could I do for all of my listeners to learn from? And I thought it's a new year, 2026. And about the third week feels like when people start to maybe not be tackling those New Year's resolutions with as much fervor as they went into the new year with. So mid-January, I anticipate there might be some feelings of guilt, inadequacy regarding some unfulfilled goals. So as I was planning the episodes ahead, I thought I should bring a productivity coach. And as a home organizer and a proud member of the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals, I thought of, and I referenced this day one, uh, Ellen Faye, here, the author of Productivity for How You're Wired. So here we have the beautiful and very talented Ellen Faye with us today. So Ellen Faye helps busy professionals and leaders stop reacting to work and start operating with intention. As a productivity and leadership coach, she designs practical systems for planning, prioritizing, delegation, and team effectiveness. She is always grounded in how people are wired to think and work. Her clients don't just get more done, they experience work that feels calmer, clearer, and more in control. How beautiful is that? Ellen, you are the past president of NAPO. We met at NAPO 2024, the conference in California, where I received your book. And I have to say, like, the industry of home organizers, this is a helpful group of people. Our jobs are going into people's lives and trying to make them better. But that community of people is very helpful, and you can feel it. And you, I reached out to you. I said, I have a brand new show. I have no exciting numbers. I mean, this is just, I'm going to try to do my best. Would you go on my show? And you wrote back, I think within an hour, and we're so supportive to be here. We've had a call earlier this week. For myself, I am so excited that I started my year off with you. And so I thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited about this show. This is so great and perfect timing.
Perfect time. And with that, I want to know, so you are the president of NAPO. How does one get to be the president of NAPO? What led to that role for you?
Well, I have this volunteer addiction, in all reality, I just get so much gratification and satisfaction from making things better and trying to make the world a better place. I mean, it fits perfectly with your station's mission, right? I was in the hotel business for my first career, and I was working 80 and 90 hours a week, and it was not healthy, and I wanted to have a family. So I quit, had kids. Kids were a few years old, and it was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I found NAPO, and I said, I can do this. So I started out as a home organizer too in 2001. So it's been really, really a long time. But I had just got involved with NAPO, and I got on my Philadelphia chapter board, and I was on that for 6 years. And I, was treasurer, secretary, vice president, president of the PTOs and the PTAs and the as the kids got older, music boosters. I just am a volunteer person. So I guess in 2008, somebody asked me, would you be on the conference committee for a NAPO conference? And I did that. And then they asked me, can you chair conference in 2010? And I said, yes. And then they said, we have an opening on the national board. Do you want to do that? And I said, yes. So it's just, I gave a lot of time, but what I got back in confidence and knowledge and wisdom and tools and just I always looked at NAPO as actually women empowerment. I mean, yes, we have 10% men, great. But as an empowerment nonprofit.
Shout out to John Trasco. Love him.
Yeah. But it helps people find success outside of the corporate paradigm. And that was important to me. So that's how it happened.
And I think it's important. So my dad was on last week, and he owned a big cremation and funeral business in Minnesota, and was always very important to him to stay connected at the national level with other funeral directors and cremation operators. And so he and his brother were both past presidents of the Cremation Association of North America, really to know like what the industry is up on. With something like that, there is more continuing ed. So I do think it's interesting within our industry. There are some certifications you can get and different trainings you can get, but I think it's important as much as we can to kind of know the trends and know how to better ourselves and our offerings rather than silo out. So early on in my career, I mean, I've been at this a few years, but I went my second year to NAPO because I wanted to be part of that higher level of thinking, because it's not just about pretty pantries. I mean, there is so much research behind what we do for people. There is so much, there's trends to follow, but then there's trends not to, and I think that people who've been in it for decades can be like, yeah, maybe stay away from that one. That's just what Instagram and TikTok wants us to do these days. An actual method is better this way, or how to run our businesses. So I find it just a really unique community. I would love to be able to like know everything that like 25 years ago.
The brain transfer.
Yes. Right. I watched a movie where
you know what? I would love to know everything because we all keep learning.
Well, here we are. We can start today. Transfer of knowledge begins. So, okay, in 2022, you published, once again, Productivity for How You're Wired. This is available on bookstore online websites, on Audible. There's a digital version, an audio version. And this is really about the customizable approach to productivity. And in prep for this episode today, I did ask some people what they would like to talk about within productivity. Like, I am having this productivity coach on. What kind of questions would you have for her? So throughout today, I plan on incorporating a few of those. But one person was like, well, I don't think everyone needs to be productive. And in particular, she, within like the traction method, she sees herself as the visionary, and the integrators are the productive ones. The visionary people, they just need to find their integrator. And I said, well, I actually love her definition, which is on page 11. Productivity is the intentional use of time. So I think that everybody can benefit from it. So, if people are like, I don't want to be any more productive, it's like, no. Would you like to use your time more intentionally? Like, everybody can say yes to that, right?
Right.
So what were the important points that you wanted to make in your book? They say everybody's got a book in them, or a lot of people hope to, but getting that book finished is a whole nother thing. Like, what compelled you to write this and complete it and get it out into the world? What do you love readers being able to get at the end of their time with your book?
So I think if I had to put that into a sentence, it would be really focus on what you're good at and focus on your strengths and leverage those strengths and figure out how to maximize the strengths and what winning conditions do you need to do your best work and be your best self. So for our visionary friend of yours, she still needs the conditions to be her best self. And that is perhaps a team that can implement her vision. But she has to know how to communicate that, and she has to figure out how to make the time to communicate it and how she's going to follow up on it so it actually comes to fruition. So whoever you are, however you're wired, let's take that and help you live your absolute best life.
Amen. Okay, about that specifics. I have a few things I'd love to talk about in this little segment. New year, new you. 2026, it's a new year. We are in Minnesota. You are lucky enough to be in Florida. Maybe the next episode I'll visit and we'll both be remote.
We
Okay.
can do that. It's
Okay,
fun.
cool. All right, on camera recorded, coming soon from Florida. Um, but here, so it's the winter. It's the middle of the winter, and it's 2026. Like I remember in college going out for New Year's. I was in Chicago and wear these ridiculous shoes. No coat, because that's not cute. You don't want to have to deal with a coat when you get somewhere. And it was in Uber time, so we were flagging taxis. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But winter, New Year's, I don't find it the most motivating time of year. And then I've done a little bit of research on this, but I know you've done a lot more. So talk to me about like calendar year, seasons, new beginnings, winter.
Sure. Okay. So, like this year, there's this big thing about January and February used to be, and many calendars ago, not existent. And like you started your new year at the spring equinox, which was the end of March, when the sun started to come out and you were energized from that. But regardless of when we're starting your year, to say I'm going to do all of this in January, it's just not realistic.
In
So to
any
me,
month, but January for sure.
yeah,
Like any month, I'm gonna get
I
everything
mean, I
done.
grew up in the winter. I get it, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
it's cold. Nobody wants to go out. We all are a little down because there's no sun. Let's bring some sun.
Well, it's like if you want to have a daily walking practice, like you don't know if it's icy, if it's snowy. Like I find that the time means different light, so sometimes you see these people out in the morning and you're just like, they've got their headlamp, their dog has a collar with the light on it. I'm just like, you are committed. I'm impressed.
Well, maybe they love that, and there's other things that we do that they don't love, right? So, um, I just like to urge people to look at their goals and intentions. What are your intentions? How do you wish to live? I want to live a healthy life. I want to be my best self. I want to make a difference in the world. Whatever your intentions are, in addition to your measured goals, and look at it over the span of an entire year. And if you try to change too many things at once, you're going to not be successful. But maybe you say, I'm going to add one thing to January, and that might be a yoga practice or 5 minutes of deep breathing or yoga nidra. Listen to that on YouTube. Just Google yoga nidra. It's the easiest way to have some quiet and calm in your life. So it doesn't have to be outside walking in 10-degree weather. It can
Right.
be something kind. And then when it's springtime, you might want to go outside anyway. And how much easier would it be to add that in April?
I like the idea of like reframing New Year to be almost the preview to the new year.
Mhm.
Like this is our prep
I
time.
love that.
And
Yeah,
so then, come spring equinox, when the buds are coming back and the green, it's like in Minnesota, it's kind of there's a brown season. I think the brown season is my most trying because there's some beautiful winter days with snow, but then when it's melting before
yes,
it's green again, it's just like still brown, brown, okay, brown. I've never heard anybody say their favorite color is brown. I I'm sure there are people, but it's not like a vibrant,
right.
it's not, yeah. Um, okay, love that. Maybe we'll come back to that, but larks versus owls. I want to talk about time of day, because I do not like mornings. Like, I like them. I'm glad that they exist. When I see a sunrise, I'm like, oh, this is equally beautiful as a sunset. But in my life, I will prioritize a sunset, and I have slept through probably 95% of sunrises. I don't know, because there's probably sunrises that happen while I'm awake, but I'm not looking at them. But it is just, morning is not my time. And there's so many things that are like, you should wake up at 5 a.m., to be successful.
That was a
No, I'm
working title in my
successful.
book was You Don't Have to Wake Up at 5 a.m.
Yes. Thank you. Snaps for that. Like, talk to me about that. You have an example in your book about working out. So maybe bring that in with Joanne. But there's just this, this idea that you have to wake up early to be successful. And
Okay.
then to
So,
me, that automatically is like, I don't like that. But I bet that those people that wake up at 5 a.m. are not as productive as me at 10 o'clock. Like there are some
of
times that I do
course.
not sleep till 3 and I'm crushing it. But I say that I only wake up at 5 a.m. for a flight.
And
That's
then I don't sleep the whole night because I'm afraid I'm going to miss the alarm. So
yeah.
the people who like
Yeah.
the person who wrote the 5 a.m. book, you know, he likes to wake up at 5 a.m. But
Good
that's
for
him.
him.
Don't project on me. What is best for you? When do you do your best work? When are you your best self? So I have a lot of clients who do their best work in the evening when they're not getting emails and pings and interruptions and the kids are asleep or whatever. Like, let's figure out what your winning conditions are so you could be your best self, live your best life, do your best work. Like, one of my guardrails, which is what I call a boundary and no boundary, is that I don't talk to any human being before 9 a.m. I mean, you just don't want to talk to me. And this one client said, well, I could only meet at 7:30 when I was, had a intake call, a discovery call with her. And I said, I don't schedule coaching calls before 9. She goes, well, that's the only time. I said, let me refer you to a client. She
Yeah.
goes, you're going to give up a client? I said, you don't want me to coach you at 7:30. I'm not going to be any good. That's not my thing. So know yourself, honor yourself, be kind to yourself. Do not, because one person said you have to wake up at 5 a.m. to be productive, that works for them. It may not work for you. And I give you absolute permission to do what works for you.
Okay. Well, I love this. I will take that permission. We are going to go to a short break. We're going to come back. We're going to tackle this and more and talk about the customization of productivity. But for now, let's just take a short break and we will be right back. This is Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston and Ellen Faye today on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. All right, we are back. This is Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I am here with the fabulous, talented, beautiful Ellen Faye, productivity coach. And this segment, okay, Ellen, I have loved having you be part of my January because selfishly, I have gotten so much out of our interactions, out of immersing myself in past interviews you've done, reading some of your book. And I posed it to you before if we could kind of use a little bit of the time to coach me. In the writer world, they say show, don't tell, give someone an
Absolutely.
example, helps you see yourself in it. And when I started my organizing business, I actually had a party at my house, a launch party for my business. And the theme was, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. And we're in Minnesota. It's kind of known, we have this like Minnesota nice. They say a Minnesotan will give you directions to anywhere but their house. It's just kind of like, we're very friendly, but like private maybe. And so I wanted to open it up. And I brought an example. I made these pro tips throughout my house and I had these laminated tips to guide people to open my cupboards and drawers. And it was like a museum for organization. But I really wanted people to see like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I can do in your kitchen. This is what I can do in your closet. Like go around my house, figure out where would you want to hire me? Or when people's friends were talking about feeling overwhelmed, they could be like, oh, I just went to my niece's party or my friend's party and she launched this business and this is what she does. I just wanted to show them what I was up to. So, in the spirit of that, and I also feel it when I'm on the job, I'm always telling, like, I never say names, but I'll say a client this, a client that to kind of make people feel like you're not that special. Like you're special, but your problem is not that special. Like, stop overthinking it. I do this every day. We're all good. So
In
I will,
coaching, I'm just going to jump in and say we call
yes,
that normalizing.
yes, normalizing.
Mhm.
So I want to normalize some of what you do through being your client, your
Okay,
your off the clock client, well on the clock in the radio show.
here we go.
Here we go. So how would you approach if I came to you? So I specifically want to talk about something I've started and not finished. Like
Okay.
really that I've spent a lot of time on, and I can get into the details now or later if you want me to, but I am just frustrated with myself. I've put an enormous amount of effort into something and it's just sitting there. And now I'm like stressed that I haven't sent it off when I plan to. I'm like, why? Why? I am good at, I can go in other people's houses and do this. I can bring order. I can manage so many things. This is important to me. Intellectually, I can tell you everything I want to do with it, but like I can't get it done. What's my
So,
problem?
so you have no problem. You have strengths and
Okay.
you have opportunities, right? So I always start my clients by helping them define what I have named structure preference. How much structure do you need to be your best self and to do your best work? And I do that. There's a structure preference quiz on my website. Anyone can take it. It'll give you that sense about yourself, and I kind of give you a productivity style word.
www.ellenfaye.com. Faye is Faye. Bottom right corner, if I'm
Bottom
correct.
right corner. Take the quiz. It's just so interesting. You'll learn about yourself. And that's where I always start my clients. When you understand who you are and how you're wired, thus the name of the book, it helps you be more compassionate with yourself, understand yourself, leverage those strengths. Yeah, you could organize anything, but sometimes things are hard to finish. So that probably, and we did talk about this, goes to the fourth letter of the Myers-Briggs, which is the
Yeah,
P, which is the perceiver.
we can talk about this. So I took her quiz and I am an ENFP. That's
Mhm.
what it came up to for me.
Okay. So that P tells me you like to leave your options open. And finishing things feels yucky to you.
Why? Like how do you know from
Just who
one
you, okay,
letter?
so the last letter of the
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs, so telling to me. The J's, you're either a J or a P. The J's like to check things off, like to complete things, like to make plans, like to not change those plans unless there's a really good reason to change those plans. And then the P's are not like that. They're like to leave their options open. Plans, okay, you make them, but you change them. It's really hard for me to travel with my sister-in-law because she's a P, I'm a J. And I need a plan so that I could relax and enjoy myself to know that it's going to be fine. Whereas for my sister-in-law, Linda, she likes to make plans and we want to change them because what if I change my mind? So the root word of the word decide is to cut off. That's the Latin root. If you decide it is time to send the presentation, it is time to finish something, you feel like you are cutting off any opportunity to go back and change it.
Okay, but I can see myself feeling so good pressing send. But I've got hours into this thing that maybe I should just be more explicit, but I it's like the finishing. It's the time and then I think I feel guilty that I haven't done it sooner. So I get that. When we were talking before, you also said like if I complete something, then I'm like attaching the idea that, oh, this is really good and it's done. But then if I press send, I might be like, but it could have been better. Oh, shoot, I didn't include that one thing. Like I definitely relate to that where it's like, and your book talks about perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote down doing too much research is procrastination in itself. And you said, is it hard to let go of the need to get it just right?
So I'm going to quote Brene Brown, who I adore. And she says that perfectionism is really rooted in the fear that somebody's going to judge you for not being enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I want to share just a minute about the 80-20 rule in terms of productivity. And this seems to be really resonate with so many of my clients. So Pareto's principle, 80-20 rule. You could look it up on Wikipedia, learn everything that I don't want to take the time to tell you right now. But basically, in terms of productivity, you are going to get to 80% in 20% of the time.
Yep.
So it can take you 2 hours to get to 80%. To get to 100% is going to take you another 8 hours. I need you to ask yourself, is this 100% worthy? So first of all, there's no such thing as perfect. So you might get to 98% or something. We spend so much time on doing unimportant work. So what is enough? Is it better that you send it and he hears you and he learns from you and it's outstanding at like maybe 90% or even very good at 80%? Or is it better that he never sees that report and you judge yourself negatively for a long, long time?
Let's break down the he in this scenario. I've told you. So, uh, September, I attended an organizer summit, the How To Summit it was in Dallas, which is also where the Container Store is headquartered. And at that summit, the current chairman of the Container Store, Joel Bynes, came and presented, and he was very open. So anybody who's in the industry, but maybe even just shoppers at the Container Store or investors in the Container Store, know it's not doing too great. It got off the stock market. It it's had leadership changes
Mhm.
from the original owners to, new leaders, and a lot of the people who built the company kind of left in like 19 or 2018, 2020, I think was kind of the exodus of a bunch of people who built it together. And then it kind of got off track, the pandemic hit. But so this guy, Joel, comes and he presents and he was like, he started it. It was so cool. He's like, okay, everybody can boo. It was like, he just came with this humble presence of like, I know we're not serving you as well as you'd like us to serve you. Then he does this presentation, kind of where we're headed, knowing he's in a room of insiders and knowing he's in a room of a lot of people who have left using that store as the primary shopping place for their clients. And so then he opened the Q&A to be kind of like a comment card. And so we all got up and were able to say what really didn't work. And this is where my overthinking started. I started to take notes. So I've got all these notes that other people said so that I didn't repeat them, so that I could jot them down. And I had worked at the Container Store in 2020, and before I even left, like I was at the register all the time. There were all these. It's a very antiquated system, and I put together a survey in the break room that my manager approved, but what we didn't like about the register. And apparently it got sent to management. I have sent that to Joel since. Like, here, you said it hasn't really updated much. Here's what we said 5 years ago was not working at the Container Store, like how this could be better. Returns were terrible. You have to stand there. Like, things were going on different payment platforms, just very tangible, annoying things. But then I saw him. I spoke up at one point and, kind of gave my spiel and was impassioned. And I approached him after. We took a photo. I said, thank you. I said, I've wondered who I could tell my ideas to, because I'm passionate about the Container Store turning around. I've got a lot of opinions and I think that you need to hear them. So now that I know who you are, I'm going to send you a PowerPoint. And before I even got home from the conference, he had emailed me. I gave him my card. He emailed me and was like, "It was great to meet you. Can't wait for your PowerPoint." So I'm like, "Yes." So I sent him a picture of me walking into my house with my suitcase in tow and me holding his book because it arrived. I ordered it, The Me-Too Economy, while I was away. And I said, I'll get back to you. I've got some reading to do, thought that was cute and clever. I thought, okay, 2 weeks later, I'd send him this presentation. Ellen, I have spent dozens of hours on this. I have a Canva presentation that has like my history with the Container Store. It has screenshots. It has comparisons from Target and Home Goods and Amazon. I have gone back into the Container Store. I have talked to my old coworkers. There's one that was like, I support the company I work for. It was like she was afraid to say anything to me because she's like, what's Colleen going to get me into? And then others that have, because it's changed a lot for the employees who work there, so others that gave me a little bit more great insight around different things that have changed, bonus structures. Like, I have gotten into the nitty gritty as if I was hired to tell
As
him
a
what to
consultant,
do. Yeah,
absolutely.
I have read his book with
Okay.
my whole presentation is broken down into his 6 C's of what, a retail environment needs to be successful. Then I picked up the original founder's book and started
Right.
to read that, notes in the margin. And we're almost 4 months later, and I have my own business to run.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Help me out here.
What are you hoping to add to this before it goes to?
I want it to be polished. I really value people's time. Everybody here now is listening to me talk about how I have this thing that I've gotten so far and haven't finished. I hope it's worthwhile in what we, you know, put together through this, because I do value people's time. That's what we don't get more of. And I know he's busy, and I want it to be also something he hasn't heard, a different perspective from an organizer. I want to be able to, your tools show me I'm a diplomat. And so diplomats, we want to make a difference in the world based on your tools. My FP makes me a diplomat. And so, I want to share feedback and to make a difference. And I'm like, oh, this is my opportunity. And then what if the Container Store has a positive impact for me? I mean, I've overinflated the impact I want it to have in my head, and that's inhibiting my productivity. But how can I get back on track? Like, how can I say, okay, I'm 80% done. What next?
Let's just work on let's reframe this.
Okay.
If you make it too long and too complex, he's going to leave it in his inbox and he's never, ever going to take the time to read it. So overdoing does not serve anyone.
Overdoing does not serve anyone. Okay. Registered.
Now, we want him to look at your report, read the report, absorb it, and then figure out what he's going to do with it. How much better can you make it?
Well, it needs to be cleaned up. I have thought maybe I could find someone to work with me in Canva to clean up what I have so that I'm not getting stuck on. I mean, it's like a 30 slide deck with examples and photos. Okay. I imagined myself like recording it on Zoom as if I was presenting to him so that he could just watch it while brushing his teeth or sitting in the office. I'm like, once I got it to that level, then he could receive it better.
Done is the enemy of what? Perfect is the enemy of done?
And good in any level. Yeah.
Okay.
So then it's like, okay, now.
What is your goal of doing this? Just one sentence. What is your goal?
To share my unique insights that I have been ruminating over with the current lead of the Container Store in a way that may be able to make my happy place of the past my happy place of the present.
Okay. If you send it today, would you accomplish that goal?
Yes. It's not ready.
What is it going to take to get it ready?
Some editing. But
how many hours of editing do you need?
10. I know. Okay.
Why?
I just overdid the slides. So now it's overdone. And I have to, there's just content everywhere. There's pieces of paper, but maybe I just need to make it an email and not a presentation. Let's take a break on that. Let's put a pin in this.
Okay.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we will solve this problem and all the world's problems, and we will just go from there.
Great.
Thank you for listening. We will be right back with Colleen Watterson and Ellen Faye on Sorting Through Life. All right, we are back. We are back with Colleen Watterson and Ellen Faye on Sorting Through Life, AM 950's newest weekend show, the progressive voice of Minnesota today. And we are sharing, so in the last segment, I shared with Ellen, who is a very respected productivity coach, about a presentation I've been working on, a self-directed, self-guided, self-started presentation that I met the Container Store chairman and said, I have a lot of ideas for you. I'm going to put them together and this was months ago, and I have started it, not finished. I have spent an enormous amount of time working on it, and now I'm embarrassed that it's not done. And by sharing this, I was hoping to kind of let that vulnerability seep in so that other people can say, oh, even a professional organizer who can get a lot done is sitting on a project she hasn't been able to get done. And in sharing this with Ellen, who is the past president of NAPO, the Organizing Professional Association, has been in the business for 25 years. She has said, well, why don't you share it with a trusted colleague? And because I shared it today, she offered to be that trusted colleague. So I think, and Ellen, you can speak to what your next steps are going to be when you look at that. But I think that the example here is that by giving me the opportunity to talk through something and break it down in a way that is like, I'm really at a standstill, I want to get this done, you were able to say, let me look at it for you. Find somebody who could look at it for you. You happen to be a perfect person to look at it for me. But to not keep it all inside is what I'm hearing. Like, you've put enormous amount of pressure on yourself to create this thing that's meaningful. Let's take some of that pressure off. And I'm happy to be the eyes that view it before.
Just having that person to talk through with. I mean, that's why I have a job, right? But it doesn't have, it could be a coach, it could be a professional organizer, it could be a trusted friend, a partner, a work colleague. I mean, sometimes, or ChatGPT, or just journaling, go back to the old fashioned journaling, get it out there, and it just helps you process and make it real.
I want to take this beyond me. So have you had a client, I shared, I'm in this and I'm in the weeds of it and I'm driving myself a little bonkers when I think of it. So now I just don't think of it, but I want to think about it. I want to finish it. How do you have a client you can share about, a story of something that was done either after the fact because it's too overwhelming, or maybe how you've helped them and coached them through getting a big thing done?
So coach doesn't tell clients what to do. They help them figure it out for themselves.
Love
And
that.
this is so prolific. Okay, this is not just Colleen. This is like human, right? To really want to do work well, right? So
Mhm.
when you asked me that, I thought of this one client, Amy, and she's an executive director of a university-based nonprofit that's working on this big, huge project to help make the world a better place in her own way. And she needed to launch a website for this institute by the end of January of 2026. So we worked on this in December. And the end point was, you know what? I'm going to launch with 6 really fabulous pages. And every month I'm going to add in another fabulous page, as opposed to saying, I need to get all 20 pages finished before I launch. Because the 6 pages are so good. She doesn't need it, but people could only absorb so much.
Right.
So, what is enough? Get it done, get it out, keep moving forward. Little baby steps. Slow and steady really does win the race with productivity.
Would you give that same advice to anybody? So you have this like low, medium, and high structure, ways of doing things. So like, okay, let's just break it down to the basics. Or some people really like the complexity. They want the whole wire map of the website. They want to know what everything is. Like, was that an Amy solution to say, let's just do the 6 really well, and then we can do one at a time really well after? Or was that more
It
of a
was an
general?
Amy solution, and she has moderate structure. You got that
Okay,
right. That's
champion
correct.
FPA. She wants to
She
make the
is
world a better
also a
place.
diplomat.
Diplomat.
Most nonprofit executive directors are diplomats.
Okay.
They are there to make the world a better place.
Right.
So they're not going to want to get mired in the muck of high structure. Okay.
Right.
If I had, let's say, a business person, they can. They're fine doing the work to do more detail.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how you get to the end point. It matters that you get to the end point. And if there are 100 people, there's 100 great ways to get to the end point.
Or wouldn't we all be lucky if we could hire a productivity coach to like weekly set our lives together? Like, okay, what am I doing this week? Wouldn't that be? But I love that your book really does help people. Like, you have so many tools, you have so many downloadable tools. Last night I was lucky to be on, it was the Greater Philadelphia chapters meeting for NAPO, and they had a kind of setting yourself up for 2026. Ellen was on, so I was like, I'm jumping on that call too, and set up some goals. And you really walked us through within an hour what we could do. But these tools that you've had to say, this is how you can set up your email, or this is how you can create a to-do list, or this is how you can map out a big project. So I think that, without even hiring, maybe grabbing your book, exploring your website, listening to the audio, getting some of those ideas in your head, it's like giving yourself the grace that you need to get something done alongside the right amount of pressure. I think is the point that you make a lot, is you need to set yourself up for the environment that allows for you to spend your time in a way that serves you and your life's goals.
So I want to talk about my book a little bit.
Please.
First of all, if you buy it, I'm like make so little money. So I wrote the book not because I was going to get
But
rich off
still
of
buy
writing
it.
a book,
Yeah.
but because I wanted to share with the world all the things I was doing one-on-one, because I could only touch so many people one-on-one. The first part of the book is understand. I want you to understand yourself. I was going to call it the psychology of time, but I'm not a therapist, so I didn't. But it's really about understanding yourself. The second part is about creating systems and processes that help you be your best self and do your best work. And the third part is applying them. But I want to talk about the second part for a second, because that's what we did last night. And that's, I created a framework of the tools I used with clients over and over. I didn't write the book and invent the tools. I coached people and worked side by side, even as a professional organizer, for 18 years. And I kept finding myself having the same conversations. Absolutely different, because every person's different in terms of the depth of the conversation. But these conversation, like, how do you say yes to the right things? Well, you have to get clear on what your priorities are. So I started doing this goal setting, intention setting exercise with people. That's part of the framework. How do you use your time effectively? And how do you wake up at the right time? Well, I started doing time mapping with people. Well, it's a budget for your time. You can make more money, but we can't. None of us can have more than 168 hours in our week. So how are you going to use that? You can't be in two places at once. So let's plan that out and let's be intentional. So that was the time map. And then what do we learn about that time map? And let's be sure all of the goals and priorities you said can fit into your time map. And then let's extract that and come up with our winning conditions and essential structures and boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Then how are we going to get it done? And that's the task list. And then what are we going to do to learn it? That's the daily and weekly planning. And you don't have to use a checklist more than to learn it and how to customize it. So that's the framework of the things I kept doing with people over and over and over again. And anyone can access that book and get that information. You don't need to hire a coach. If you're excited, then there's, like, I have a lot of colleagues too. There's lots of coaches out there. There's a lot we can do to help you. But I wanted to write a book that was a resource so people could get started themselves, can really do well themselves, get started. So it's got 5 stars on Amazon. I've got great reviews. People love it. They really think it's helped them. And it's written there. I put it to the universe to help people.
I'm a fan. You're helping me. Case in point. I definitely recommend it. And I think that, you've even said in other times, like, grab a chapter, go to where you're most interested and start there, and then go through it in full. But, we just have a few minutes left here. And I did talk to a lot of people about this episode in advance, and we are recording from Minnesota, the Twin Cities. It is January 2026. It's a tense moment. Without getting into specifics, it's a tense moment and it's hard. And someone asked me to ask you how to focus on getting things done when the world is on fire. And so, they say there's doom scrolling, and I think today it's like doomsday scrolling. And, just this morning I was preparing for this, and then I went down a 20-minute rabbit hole of watching the latest updates, and it just makes you feel heavy, and it's hard, or maybe it's not even the moment of the day, but somebody is losing a family member, or, something is happening, or maybe there's a child in the family who's, having a lot of things that need to be tended to, when we're trying so hard to be productive, and yet the world the world is in the way. So we only have a couple minutes to go here. So, but what do you say to that? Like, how do you know that all that is true and still move forward on your goals and the things that are important to you long term?
Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't try to do too much at once. I would say the most important thing you can do is to back off and say to yourself, what are the 3 most important things I accomplished today? Or what is the 1 most important thing I accomplished today? And let everything else go. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't watch, like for me, it is a difficult time, even for those of us not in Minnesota. We are looking from afar, and our hearts are with you. But I won't watch TV. That stresses me out. I mean, I'll watch the news, but I'm not going to watch a show that is. I was spent 20 minutes going through Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, whatever it's called today, trying to find a feel-good movie the other night. I ended up, don't laugh, watching a 1965 Cinderella.
Well, hey, that's okay.
I needed to take care of me. I needed something that I knew was not going to add any more stress to my life. So
maybe I'll go watch it. I think that's so important. You talk about self-care, you talk about being your own advocate for what you need to be productive in this life. And amidst the chaos of everything going on, I just want to thank you here for being here, for helping me through some thoughts, for helping our listeners through some thoughts. And I hope we can do it again, Ellen. I just really appreciate all your wisdom, and I wish everybody well. So thank you today for listening here to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston. www.ellenfaye.com if you want to learn more from my wonderful guest. Have a great week, and we'll see you next one.